Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Tonight we have Daniel Shindelbower with us. Sorry, Daniel, I said it right
It's all right.
earlier.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Daniel is the Fayette County Coordinator for Joe Jorgensen's Kentucky campaign.
Hmm.
And he's going to be joining us tonight to give us a few updates on what's going on in Joe's campaign. So, what's going on in Joe's campaign?
Well, big thing. We are active in all 50 states. We've been put on the ballot. Rhode Island was the last one we were waiting for, and it got
Yay!
approved today. So, yeah, we are going to be on every state in the union, which means you do have a third option now. You actually have a real third option.
Right. Well, Kentucky has for a while, but
Yeah, Kentucky has, but not every state has, and a lot of states have
right,
been against it. So,
right. Now, we did because of Gary Johnson in 2016.
hmm.
And for that matter, getting me on the ballot was relatively easy due to Gary Johnson
Well,
in
good.
2016.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
getting
think
Brad
the
Barron on the ballot
mhm.
was relatively easy because of Gary Johnson in 2016. So, Joe doing well this year is going to save us gathering thousands of signatures
Mhm.
in 2022, 2023, and 2024. So, if you're tuned in, please remember to like, share, and comment in this. Kind of push the algorithm a little because we got to get this out to people so that we have an easier time in pursuant years. Um, so, besides ballot access, what's going on in Kentucky?
So right now, the big thing we're working on is doing a sign waving campaign. It's a
Okay,
statewide event that's going to be reoccurring all the way up into the election.
okay,
Once a week, volunteers in all the major cities of Kentucky will be doing sign wavings at strategic high value or high traffic locations, malls, or universities, just to get the word out. They'll be campaigning for not just Joe, but as well as you and Barron, just to see some signs out there and keep everyone's name in the front of everyone's memory.
right. I helped out with that in
Danville,
Danville
right?
this
Yeah,
last weekend, which that's where I was born. I could literally see the hospital I was born at from where we were waving signs.
nice.
And I think this weekend I'm going to do Bardstown. So
Yeah, we've got the only place we didn't do any sort of setup last time was Louisville, and that was just because there was too much going on with the Derby and all the other protests. It wasn't a good idea. So this week we will be doing Louisville, Lexington, Bardstown if you're there, Danville, and hopefully Berea as well.
I think it's a little outside of your jurisdiction, but I believe there's one going on in Bowling Green as well.
Yeah. hmm Yeah, we were able to get some signs down the Bowling Green in Covington. So.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Cool. Are there how do people get connected to
So
these events? How do you find these?
best place is Joe's website, joe20.com. Well,
Okay.
they have in all the event pages, sign wavings, where they're going to be happening, as well as they're going to be shared on all the Facebook pages. So Kentucky for Joe Jurgensen, the Jurgensen Kentucky Hub, and then um, that's pretty much where they're going to be located and being able to be seen. If you need signs or want signs, you have to get in contact with our logistician, Marcia Foster. She will get you signs or find someone to get you signs. We were able to get more printed, so
Excellent. Yeah, I heard we were running low,
we've been
and
passing them out. So, but we were able to get more coming in. They're being printed right now. It is a pre-order, so you can go onto the website and find it, or through Marcia and be able to get a hold of it.
no, Marcia's the same sort of distribution hub for T-shirts as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
And the T-shirts you get those for a donation. Is that right?
Right. So you have shirts like this, and then you have other shirts that are found on the website through Joe's campaign, as well as bumper stickers. And there you go.
Woo.
Um, we're also in the process of working up a college packet to give out to college students, just information
Nice,
about JoJo, um,
nice.
and hopefully get that out to all the state schools. So,
Now I have been getting these out to a few people too, by the way.
hmm
So like Randall Daniel
yeah,
has some of those, and Jacob Clark, and I'm gonna try to get get some to somebody in the Bowling Green area. And then, of
yeah,
course, if you're anywhere Mercer, you can just ping me. I'll get them too. Also, you can pick some up at Silver Star Guns and Ammo in Harrodsburg.
there you
They've
go.
got maybe half dozen or a dozen of them, and he'll let me know if they run out. Um, Sorry, I got a bit distracted. We made this list. I wanted to make sure we weren't missing anything. So signups, I heard we're doing very well with signups.
hmm
Can you
Uh,
quantify that, or you just know very well?
I know we've increased it. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. The volunteer list is growing, and that can also be done through Joe's website.
Cool, cool. And I've thrown a link to that in the comments. And our friend David Patterson has some sort of. Ah, yeah, he's just talking about the coordination of events and improving. And then
Yeah.
I also wanted to point out, because I know there's a place on the website where you can just click to donate.
hmm
But I've also learned that there's kind of a link that has KY in it that isn't exactly advertised in the website. But what is that for? I've put it on the
So
screen.
the KY for Jorgensen, those campaigns help directly fund, or those donations directly fund the state organization trying to get her elected. So that gives
Okay.
us money for T-shirts, yard signs, phone banking.
So if
Uh,
you're in Kentucky, send to that one. That way we get more T-shirts and signs and funds for phone banking and everything like that.
mhm.
And so how did you get involved with the campaign?
Uh, so I got involved because I shared a bunch of Joe Jorgensen memes, and kind of attacking both the left and the right, and then the campaign reached out to me, and um, yeah, and that's how I got linked up with the campaign.
And, and now you're a coordinator.
Yeah, so I guess sharing memes gets you something now.
That's cool. So how much of your time is that taking up, being a coordinator?
Um, I would say 10 to 20 hours a week. Putting in time, organizing events, and coordinating with people, weekly meetings. Yeah,
Wow, that's a good deal of commitment. Um,
yeah.
so what drives that? Is it just general interest in
Um,
libertarianism? I know we were talking about economics and stuff like that beforehand, but
well, I think for me, it was I was so tired of a two-party system. Because up until recently, I wasn't even a registered libertarian. I was a registered Republican. And jumped ship from the Republican Party to join the Libertarians. And for me, it was an understanding of the libertarian philosophy and understanding the Constitution, and which helped me really want to volunteer into this and uh, dedicate time to it because everyone's saying, "Oh, a vote for third party right now is a wasted vote." Well, I disagree. I think right now is the perfect time to vote third party because the two party system has messed up. almost everything when it comes to federal level policies and foreign policies. So,
Well, it seems to me throughout my lifetime that people who just keep voting for the two parties, they're just emboldening the two parties to give them crappier and crappier
yeah,
candidates.
I agree
I
with
can't even
that.
believe it this year.
Well, I think when we constantly buy into the two-party system, what we're doing is creating a government that no longer works for the people, but works for itself and its own interest.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's why I felt like it was a really important time to make the jump from the Republican Party and kind of dive headfirst into the Libertarian Party.
Is was that just learning the philosophy, or did the R's tick you off somehow?
Well, the R's have definitely ticked me off. Big one would be, you can't claim to be the party for small government when you've created the largest expansion in federal government in the last 20 years with the Department of Homeland Security. Uh,
Absolutely.
so that's just false. And
They, they,
the,
they, they went from the party who was overly curious about what was going on in their bedroom to the party that's overly
yeah,
curious about what we're typing to our friends online, our telephone calls,
exactly.
absolutely everything.
Yeah, the Patriot Act was definitely something that pushed me away from the Republican Party.
Right.
The other would definitely be gun issues. I felt like the Republicans just have given up on defending the Second Amendment, and I felt like it just wasn't every time there was a new Democrat or Republican president, there was some new gun control coming on the books that shouldn't is unconstitutional and unlawful in the first place. And with Trump, it's a lot of things. It's the bump stock ban, which practicality wise isn't that big, but it's still a principle of it. And then
It's an
him saying,
erosion.
yeah, it's an erosion, and Trump saying he would take the guns first and due process later, and that's not how our country is set up. It is set up that,
In any regard.
yeah.
I mean, we have the same problem with civil asset forfeiture.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that
Um,
in itself is wrong too.
right.
Uh, so that the Trump trying to change the age to buy long guns from 18 to 21, but not changing the age you can serve in the military, that seems very wrong to me. Uh,
Absolutely.
and then I started diving down through gun policies that have happened through history, and most of them have been passed by either a Republican president or a Republican Congress. So it's very counterintuitive because working in the gun industry, when there's a Democrat in office, the fear is there that they're going to take your guns and gun sales go through the roof. But when the
Right.
Republicans in there, they can just do it silently and no one notices it.
Well, in neither of the two parties do the two party voters really hold them accountable. I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
the Republicans in Congress haven't really done much of anything to rein Trump in on anything. I mean,
No.
I kind of vaguely remember something about Republicans being pro trade or something like that. I mean, what the heck's happened to that?
Yeah. I mean,
And
we have tariffs on like what isn't it 29 or 30 countries right now?
yeah, and I mean,
Uh,
ever since I've been a libertarian, I've had to explain to people how there's a difference between non-interventionalism and
mhm.
isolationism. We're not isolationist. We're
Yeah.
huge on trade. And then, I guess it was Monday morning. Or this morning one, I can't remember, but I'm hearing Trump talking about decoupling from China. It's like the Republicans are now leading us in isolationism,
Yeah.
and the Democrats aren't far behind them. If you want
No.
a country that's going to be engaged with the rest of the world, at this point you're going to have to vote libertarian because we're
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
only non-isolationists. Not only are we not the isolationists, we're the only non-isolationists now. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Now you, like, because we talked a bit, you've actually worked in a gun shop. This isn't.
Yeah, so I worked in a gun store for about a year.
Uh-huh.
So I've gotten a very close look at how everything is run, how policies are affecting the gun industry, what is actually happening. Um, yeah, it's been interesting. And you talking about, how the Libertarian Party is trying to make sure we can work within the markets of the world. One of the big things that has happened under multiple different presidencies in the gun industry has been um, a ban or destruction of foreign firearms that wouldn't be normally legal. So, for instance, there are stockpiles of weapons that we have access to that the Russians have said we can buy, um, but because of the tariffs and the importation laws, we can't buy them. These are not even battle rifles or AK platforms. They're stuff from World War One and World War Two that you know Mosin Nagants or Papa Shaw's, uh, anything like that that are just sitting in warehouses, but we can't get to. And the same goes for Chinese made or um, Finnish made weapons we can't get to,
Right.
which doesn't seem very fair to us. It's like these aren't weapons that are meant. Um, these aren't weapons that are like extremely dangerous. These are bolt action rifles and stuff that people just want to collect. But due to the policies, we cannot get them. So,
Right. And I mean, military grade weapons is what the founding fathers actually had in mind when they
yes,
wrote the
absolutely.
Second Amendment.
And if we look at the
Um,
whole statement of the Second Amendment of not just the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, but a well regulated militia being necessary for the free and secure state, uh, what that means is that the average citizen can come together in common defense. And that means average citizens should have the same access and the same arms as military and police in an event to prevent tyranny, and prevent a government from constantly overstepping.
Now, that's come into play a little bit with the protest the
Yeah,
last few months.
so the protest. I like to remind a lot of people that like everyone wants to condemn people carrying ARs in protest, but the police are very timid when it comes to an armed populace that is exercising their rights. And a really good example of that is the difference in treatment between the protests going on today with the Black Lives Matter movement and against police brutality versus how the Bundy Ranch standoff ended. While the Bundys were in a labor dispute with the EPA and the Bureau of Land Management, uh, they had a family farm that they had been working and raising cattle on, and the EPA and Bureau of Land Management said that that was not their land, that they did not have rights to that land, but they could prove that they had been there since about the 1850s.
Hmm.
And so they put a call to arms out because the EPA and Bureau of Land Management were trying to take their cattle so that they couldn't graze on it. Um, and they put a call to arms out, and about 200 people from around the United States came to the ranch and were in an armed standoff that lasted about 15 days with
Hmm.
federal authorities. Well, not a shot was fired, and yes, the Bundys got arrested. It was on his own terms after he turned himself into the police. So it was a very different outcome than a lot of the protests going on today, where they are unarmed and police are running rampant against the people.
Now, what did you think about the Not Effing Around coalition going to Louisville?
I think the premise is fine, but they need a lot more firearms training. they don't understand what they are carrying. Their leader went on YouTube, and everything he said was 100% wrong, and completely just idiotic. So, if you're going to exercise your First and Second Amendment, that is all well and good, but you need to understand what you have and be able to explain it and be able to understand why you have it.
Right.
The NFAC, I agree with their right to protest, but I don't agree with their firearm safety. They weren't able to maintain their weapons. They had accidental discharge that shot three people, three of their own members. So, if you're going to carry guns, you got to understand the importance of firearm safety and being able to handle your firearm.
Right. Well, my understanding is they had an issue with heat exhaustion also.
Yeah, they might have had an issue with heat exhaustion, but that doesn't change that they had an accidental discharge.
Right.
That, like, I mean, a heat casualty can happen, but you still have to be able to maintain your weapon.
Sure. Now, you've worked with firearms for a long time,
Yeah,
because I see the both of us on the screen right now, and I think the audience is probably going to catch on that you're the younger of the two.
yeah,
Pretty good separation going on here.
yeah.
But when did you get into firearms? When did you?
12 or 13, started learning how to shoot. Family taught me, and then started to learn how to hunt. And that stuff carries on. The fundamentals carries on to actual competitions, learning how to transition between weapons and maintain your weapon in a safe direction and safe handling of a weapon. All of that translates throughout time. So it starts at the fundamentals of being able to, understand that a firearm is not a toy, but a tool, uh,
Right.
a tool that helps preserve life and not, hopefully not take it, but if necessary.
So you wanna be exercised at handling a firearm before you need to handle a firearm.
Yeah, I don't think you can just. Uh, and one thing I've seen in the gun industry is, um, especially because of COVID and everything that has gone on this year, whether it be COVID, the elections, the protests, and the defund the police movement, has caused a fear in people. Um, they no longer feel safe and protected, and they no longer feel that the government is doing the job of protecting its people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I've seen a lot of first-time gun owners, coming up, and the biggest thing I advocate for is it's better to own one gun and get completely trained with it and proficient with it than own 30 guns and not know how to use any of them. So one gun that you are really good with is a lot better of a tool than just having a safe full of guns.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a bit. Let's pivot back to Joe.
Yeah.
Um, what is it you like about Joe's stance on the Second
Well,
Amendment rights?
what brought me over to Joe almost instantly was her stance on abolishing the ATF, and as well as just a flat out stance that has said that your right to protect yourself is not should not be dictated on what you can carry and have as a citizen. So that alone jumped me on board, and then started reading through her policies and agreed with pretty much all of them. So
This is a crazy note about the ATF, but I noticed the ATF around March because I was annoyed that the FDA was still being a little strict in how distilleries were allowed to make hand sanitizer.
yep,
And when you read what the FDA requirements were, even during a time of pandemic, they were still referencing the denaturing chemicals that were allowable by the ATF. So
yep,
the you think ATF firearms, ATF hand sanitizer. That's
Yeah, and it's one of those government agencies that was created in order to combat a rise in crime. And if you look at how the ATF was created, it goes all the way back to Prohibition and how um, when the U.S. government banned alcohol, that created the largest crime wave we've ever seen and the largest increase in organized crime. And what
right.
that caused is criminals to go out and buy full auto Tommy guns or whatever they could get their hands on. And even today, we still see the effects of that because the tax stamp is $200, which was the same price as a Tommy gun in the 1930s. So the ATF was created out of something the government created, was the prohibition and the rise in crime.
Right.
And what the ATF has done has been hinder law-abiding citizens with their weapons, whether it be short barrel rifles or silencers, which in any other country, they might have super strict gun laws, but you get a silencer the day you get your gun, whether it be South Africa, Germany, Australia. But here we have to wait 9 months and pay a tax stamp just to own something that is completely normal, just to prevent hearing loss.
That's interesting. I did not know
Cut
that.
out.
Sorry. Am I back? Uh-oh. Check, 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 check. Hey, I heard a beep. Hey, you've got the horrible warbling back. Tell you what, why don't we go ahead and wrap this up? I want to thank everybody for joining us. That's going to drive me mad too. Please go to Joe's website, sign up to volunteer, or throw Joe some money to get Marcia some more t-shirts and signs to hand out. And I'm sorry I'm speaking slow, but I don't process the feedback well. Anyway, I'm going to be at a sign waving in Bardstown, and I'll create the event for that tonight. Daniel, I want to thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
And educating us about 2A.
Yeah. Thank you all for having me.
Yeah, and please share, comment, like, push the algorithm. Get this out to everybody. Great. Have a good night.